Hey guys, Omni here. We are about to dive into episode 1 of House of the Dragon. I know there's a lot of varying opinions on this show, and I myself, I've been trying to be more optimistic about it, or at least open-minded to it, considering how things have gone. It's a new team, new idea, new direction, and I'm curious to see how it unfolds. It's a story that's set long before the events of the main show, which we've talked about at length here on the channel before. It was before I did reactions, but I did like recaps and discussions and shared my thoughts on each individual episode, especially leading up to the finale. So that was way back when, man. And yeah, if you go back and check us out, there's been a lot of changes on the channel since then, so be warned. But I've tried to be more open, you know, when this was whole announced, because I still have some shaky feelings with the way that the main flagship show had come to a close. So, but there's a lot of great actors in this. There's a lot of great ideas and concepts in this, and dragons. So we'll give it a go. We'll give it a chance, and we'll see how it plays out. Out of the spinoffs that they had announced previously, I think this is one of the few that there's a handful that are continuing and moving forward. This is one of them. The one I was the most interested in, like the one about the first man, the children of the forest and all that. That was the one I was the most looking forward to, but that was the first one I think that they canceled. So, oh well, we're here. We're going to check it out. So we'll go ahead and dive in. So guys, if you want to see the full-length reaction to this, you can check it out over on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, it gets you access to that as well. Helps support the channel, helps us grow. Along with that, you also get the same thing for all the other shows we cover here on the channel. You also get to vote and suggest what movies we react to each month. We got monthly Q&As, behind-the-scenes footage, try to make it worth your while, since you are going out of your way to support the channel. But of course, I know not can do that, and a simple way you can help us out is just by liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing these videos, because that really does go a long way with helping the channel grow and evolve here on the YouTube side of things. And if you're new, if it's your first time tuning in to the channel, I really hope you've enjoyed this reaction. Maybe you'll stick around. Maybe you'll hang out, hit that subscribe button. Maybe even a like. I'd really appreciate it. But with that all said and down the way, guys, let's go ahead and return after a long hiatus back to Westeros. Here we go. Oh, man. I feel like I haven't heard this in forever. Honestly, I haven't. Since Game of Thrones ended.
As the first century of the Targaryen dynasty came to a close, in those days, House Targaryen stood at the height of its strength, with 10 adult dragons under its yoke. King Jaehaerys reigned over nearly 60 years of peace and prosperity, but tragedy had claimed both his sons. Over 1,000 lords made the journey to Harrenhal. Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, the king's eldest descendant, and her younger cousin, Prince Viserys Targaryen, the king's eldest male.
I will say, like, as far as like what we know about this or what has been mentioned about this in the flagship series, I've not read the book this is based on. I've read all the other ones, just not this one. So this will be a fresh dive through the lore for me. Ooh, I've missed the song, music, man.
Would not inherit the Iron Throne. Jaehaerys called the Great Council to prevent a war being fought over his succession. The only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon was itself.
Ooh. Loving this track, man. It's now the 9th year of King Viserys, the first Targaryen's reign. 172 years before the death of the Mad King, Aerys, and the birth of his daughter, Princess Daenerys Targaryen. 172 years before. Dude, they're already, like, setting themselves apart by, like, you know, alright, you know what, we ain't making you wait 800 seasons for a dragon. A lot of familiar spots already, dude. It's kicking me right in the nostalgia, man. It's the good nostalgia, at least.
God be good.
Yo.
It's all right, sir.
Metal. Literally.
Che sinuos temivos magularios.
The Geheimpelik nutzt dat die lux da or.
Poi uno sud kotion tradilas rokta.
Koti otaranno sit isa.
Exie ultratan. Eu amuno trezi sikos si agevu. Ergotis berium.
Na se pavron qui jalina.
I brought you something.
It's Valyrian steel.
Now, you and I both own a small piece of our ancestry.
I've been pretty open about this. A big part of my motivation to really give this a go is because it's Matt Smith's in here, man, and I love that dude so much, man.
Is it healing?
It has grown slightly, Your Grace.
Can you say yet what it is?
It's a small cut from sitting the throne. It's nothing.
So he literally did he get that from the chair, from the throne itself?
Whatever it is, it needs to be kept quiet.
That's kind of shitty if that's the case.
You do understand that nothing will cause the babe to grow a cock if it does not already possess one.
I've never been more certain of anything.
This is the last time, Viserys. I've lost one babe in the cradle, had 2 stillbirths and 2 pregnancies ended well before their term. But I've mourned all the dead children like her.
That's rough. That's an understatement.
When I took command of the watch, you were stray mongrels. Now, you're a pack of hounds, sated and prone for the hunt. Brother City has fallen into squalor. Crime of every breed has been allowed to thrive. No longer. Beginning tonight, King's Landing will learn to fear the color gold.
Dude, Matt Smith always gives me chills, dude. Oh my god. Are these even criminals, or are they just beating anybody that's out on the street right now? That's an example, I guess. Oh, dude, his helmet's badass. Really? Was that necessary? Oh god! Oh! Well, they did just yell that he was a raper, so get wrecked, bitch. Assuming he actually did. Oh my lord. Holy shit.
It was an unprecedented roundup of criminals of every ilk. Your brother made a public show of it until they needed a 2-horse cart to haul away the...
What was the process for prosecution? What was the evidence? I just have a feeling they just picked random people and threw out random sentences just as a show, a display. Could be wrong.
You mightn't know this unless you left the safety of the Red Keep, but much of King's Landing is seen by the small folk as lawless and terrifying. Our city should be safe for all its people.
I agree. I just hope you don't have to maim half of my city to achieve this.
Time will tell.
I love that he didn't even entertain. He was like, who knows? I might have to.
Enforce my laws, but understand, any further performances like last night's will be answered.
Understood, Your Grace.
Well, this is not a sight I thought I'd ever actually see. Doctor Who smashing.
It's promised to that young Tarly Squire. Lord Massey's son. They're to be married as soon as he wins his knighthood.
I love just hearing all these names I recognize, man. I don't know.
I'm told Sir Crispin is common-born son of Lord Dondarrion's steward, but other than that, and the fact that he's just unhorsed both of the Baratheon lads.
Okay. My lord, dude, his helmets. Dude is a living dragoon right now. I kicked him back. Oh no. Let's do it. Ooh. That's not a legal maneuver, is it? Flag on the play.
The infant is in breach, Your Grace. All attempts to turn the babe have failed.
Great. Her being like, this will be the last time I try to have a son for you, my king, is like the the Westerosi equivalent of, I'm about to retire in 2 weeks. Sore loser. Jesus! Kill him! Jeez, man.
70 years since King Maegor's end. These nights.
Good lord, dude. Snapped his ankle. Holy shit!
During a difficult birth, it sometimes becomes necessary for the father to make an impossible choice.
You can save the child.
He's so certain it's a boy, man, that he's more than willing to sacrifice her. I mean, I wouldn't say more than willing, because he definitely doesn't like that that this choice comes to. Oh God! A chunk of him stayed behind. Anyway, he doesn't like that he has to make this choice, but we already know the choice he's going to make, and he already knows the choice he's going to make because he's so certain it's a boy. This is that cold night, right? He's going to put him on his ass. Yeah, the name doesn't ring a bell for me for this mystery night, so I'm curious the path that's going to take.
Sorry, I'm going to bring the babe out. It's all right.
Please.
It's all right.
No, I'm scared. Nothing.
I don't know if I can watch this, man.
I'm making the first incision.
That's a little too raw with everything that's gone on this year, man. Man, so many sore losers, dude. Got knocked off, and he's gotta stand tall. He's throwing swords, throwing blades with this guy now. Watch him end up losing both, or it's a girl. He just chucked his shield into his face. Yeah, they're intersplicing this with the Daemon thing, I think, because if this fails, that leaves a power vacuum for Daemon to fill. Either by force or because he can be named the next heir.
Congratulations, Your Grace. You have a son.
It's not gonna make it. There's no way. Oh, yeah, it's gasping. So uncomfortable. Man, one thing I do like about this is it being in like this era, like with these dragons, with the Targaryens that still in power and stuff. Like it might look like Game of Thrones and feel like what we recognize from Game of Thrones, but there's a lot. Yeah. But at the same time, it's bringing like a whole other kind of like flair to it, a magic to it that was noticeably gone from the world in a way. like, it's just commonplace for a dragon to be just hanging out. Nobody bats an eye at it. I mean, Daemon doesn't seem like he's particularly thrilled with what went down. So I don't think he's maybe like this usurper plotting any of this kind of thing. So I don't know how to feel about him as a character just yet. Is this somebody like back in the corner there? Yep.
Please.
Never mind. There's my answer. So he's not at the meeting. Not publicly. That's a little suspicious.
He is impulsive and violent. It is the duty of this council to protect the king and the realm from him.
I will not be made to choose between my brother and my daughter.
You wouldn't have to.
You chose between your wife and your kid.
If we cannot agree on an heir, then how can we
My
expect
wife and son are dead! I will not sit here and suffer crows that come to feast on their corpses!
Yeah, man, I can't blame him, man. It's not the best situation, and he's also got to have like some level and sense of guilt behind it too. And then they're just prattling off about who's next, what's next, while he's still processing all of this.
Send a raven to Old Town straight away.
How is his grace?
Very low. I thought you might go to him. Offer him comfort.
In his chambers.
You might wear one of your mother's dresses.
Okay. Is he trying to weasel himself his way in with the king into the line of succession with his daughter? Oh no. I mean, that's kind of been the game.
The King Solaire once again.
Yeah, he's got his own little private posse. His own little kind of cult following down here.
Before we begin, Your Grace, I have a report I feel compelled to share.
King and council have long rued my position as next in line for the throne. But
that couple dead center in the middle of the room, just still
the gods give just as the gods take
in warming
away.
position there.
Toasted Prince Balon,
To the king's son.
the heir for a day.
Ooh.
My family has just been destroyed, but instead of being by my side or Rhaenyra's, you chose to celebrate your own rise! You have no allies at court but me! Everything I've given you, you've thrown back in my face!
You've only ever tried to send me away to the Vale, to the City Watch, anywhere but by your side.
Otto Hightower is a more honorable man than you could ever be.
He doesn't protect you. I would.
From what?
Yourself. You're weak, Viserys. And that Council of Leeches knows it. They all prey on you for their own ends.
I have decided to name a new heir.
I'm your heir.
Not anymore.
Did he cut himself again? Dude. Fuck that chair. Put some padding on it or something. Oh, dude. That is so wicked.
Valerian was the last living creature to have seen old Valyria before the Doom.
I would like to see Valyria before the Doom.
If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
We know this can't play out this way, right? Because Daenerys was Daenerys / Cersei were the firsts, right? That I can remember. I could be wrong. I don't know how the story plays out necessarily. I can't remember.
This is no trivial gesture, Rhaenyra.
She's not queen yet. He's still alive, but she's being named heir.
Dangerous seat in the realm.
Quite literally. It's killing him. Sitting on it is literally going to kill him.
I pledge fealty to them, and shall defend them against all enemies in good faith and without deceit.
Dude, look at that thing.
Our histories. They tell us that Aegon looked across the Blackwater from Dragonstone, saw a rich land ripe for the capture. But ambition alone is not what drove him to conquest. It was a dream. And just as Daenerys foresaw the end of Valyria, Aegon foresaw the end of the world of men. Is to begin with a terrible winter, gusting out of the distant north.
I, Rickon Stark, Lord of Winter.
When this great winter comes, all of Westeros must stand against it. And if the world of men is to survive, a Targaryen must be seated on the Iron Throne. A king or queen, strong enough to unite the realm against the cold and the dark. Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire.
Hey, look at that.
Being passed from king to heir since Aegon's time. Now you must promise to carry it.
Yeah, about that great threat from the north, apparently it wasn't that big a deal. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I, Viserys Targaryen, first of his name.
It is cool that they're trying to like lay that out though, and connect it to Daenerys joining the Westerosi armies.
Rhaenyra Targaryen, Princess of Dragonstone, and heir to the Iron Throne.
All right. I think that was a pretty strong first episode. It kind of it brings us in with a little bit of that season 1 kind of feel, bringing us back into King's Landing. You know, we're getting attorney, we're getting all these other things, lots of these names and drops and stuff like throughout that are like, I remember that thing. I recognize that house. And we're just kind of jousting. We're jousting. And we're worrying about, kind of similarly with Robert, about secession, about something going on. Not necessarily a plot to take out the king or anything like that, but trying to like set the stage for kind of the conflict for the remainder of the season, which is going to be who's really going to be taking over the throne. Like the idea of like who's going to succeed him. Like he's got this cut that supposedly, as far as we know and as far as we've been told, he got it from the throne itself. This festering wound on his back that they're unable to heal. It's getting worse, and they're like, you gotta name your heir, man. You gotta get this succession lined up so the realm has some kind of like fallback. You know, if something happens. Literally by the end of this episode, he cuts himself again on the chair. I do love the way the throne room looks here. Like with not just the throne itself, but like swords littering the way up to the throne. It looks badass. I like the vibe of it, man. And I really love Matt Smith in this so far. Because it's just so much, it's so against what I'm used to seeing him in. That it's entertaining as hell just to see him like in a role like this. And I feel like we're just the sense I'm getting, because again, I'm so vaguely familiar with this story whatsoever, just from like I've mentioned before about what we know about how things end up later. I don't know exactly like what to expect yet, and I don't want to go and read the book now. I feel like it's a little too late because now I'm watching the show. I don't want to spoil it for me while I'm watching it, because who knows, it might make this watch even more fun. But like with the show, I'll probably watch it and then go back and read the books after. So at this point, I have to imagine that even though he was her backer, Rhaenyra's, the uncle, he was like taking care of her. He was supporting her. He was like understanding, because I think they had a little bit of a kinship in that way, because, his brother's the king and he's just kind of the guy that's sent off to be forgotten about. And that's kind of how Rhaenyra had been feeling up at this point as well, being the daughter and him just trying to have a son. Never really giving her the time of day at all, that Daemon felt some kinship with her. So he was there. He'd bring her presents. He would kind of reinforce her, lift her up. and comfort her in some of these issues, because I feel like he relates to the position she's in the family. And now, because of what Daemon has kind of led on about his animosity towards the crown, towards the rule, towards his brother and all this stuff, and then his own little like kind of like cult that he's built out of the City Watch, you know, he put himself in some hot water. And now, because of that, those two, which were now kindred spirits, are now going to be polar forces battling one another. And it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic changes. And how that moves forward into this story. And I have no idea what the trajectory is for it. But based on what we know of Westeros' history and of the Targaryens, that like they opened up in the beginning, the Targaryens' biggest threat is themselves. And that's how we're going to like lead to the Dance of Dragons. And then the house itself will crumble. And she will probably never set her ass on that throne. They really need to smooth that thing out. Add some pads or something. Like, come on, dude. The chair's dangerous. But aside from that, I feel like there might be some other things going on, like Otto Hightower or whatever game he's kind of playing with his daughter. I don't know if what he sent to Old Town was necessarily anything nefarious, but like his next moves with his daughter did seem a little suspect. Who knows? Maybe he just genuinely cares about the king and is like, I have a daughter, she's sweet, she's good at conversing, she shares interests. Maybe she can lift his spirits a little bit, because a bummed out king isn't best for anybody. So he could be thinking about the realm and trying to like pad things out, or he's playing a game with his daughter, which either way it could go. And the thing that he sent to Old Town could have been he's got something scheming up, or he's just notifying them of what had just transpired with the king, with the failed birth of his son, the loss of the queen and all that, like updating their logs and records and all that stuff. Who knows? I don't know. There's nobody yet that I'm like, oh, Littlefinger vibes or anything like that, or Lannister vibes. I think the closest I've got to that is Daemon himself, but there's some times where I feel like he doesn't actually care about any of this stuff, and he just likes the attention, likes the power that comes with it, and he's not really aiming for the throne, but he feels disrespected of not being acknowledged or considered for it, or feeling unworthy of it. I think there's a little bit of that, but I don't feel like he's actively conspiring. Though there was the scene at the council meeting where he again wasn't attending, but he was observing and listening into other conversations, though not actively participating in it, so he can hear exactly what everybody's saying. And his brother, again, time and time again, defending him, regardless of what's been going on. So I feel like his brother, like the king, like his heart's in the right place sometimes. But again, the whole, like, the way they handled his wife in the labor and the way they set that up, it was just hard to watch. And then at the end, no one won. But I think they brought the heat. I don't know who this Dornish Coal Knight is, Christian, whatever his name is. I don't know where that goes, about him climbing up the ranks and being this mysterious figure coming in. Nobody knew who he was, and then he's just dethroning everybody in this jousting match. And even so, Daemon himself. And then they just get into fisticuffs off their horses, and he still succeeds. I don't know where that's going, which is fun. The production quality on everything looks just as top notch. I will say that it's been a long time since I've watched Game of Thrones, but it was very noticeable in this when there was like a composition between what's actually shot and what is like CGI, like especially for the backgrounds and stuff like that. And even with the dragons themselves, though, I will say that we were seeing the dragon in daylight. Like, they didn't have the darkness to shroud it to help with that compositing. So it was a little bit, it did feel a little, I don't want to say cheap because it's still really good, but it's still like the obvious disconnect was there, but it was still really cool because I love seeing the dragons regardless. It was just like something I noticed and I wanted to point out. But I like that we're in a world that it's just common to see a dragon. It's not this mind-blowing, mind-altering thing. And it just kind of sets the stage and sets the vibe or the era that we're in, where the Targaryens are at power, dragons are alive and well, and one of the main reasons their house is uncontested. And I don't know, man. We're going to see a couple different dragons hanging around. Like Daemon's dragon was badass as fuck. The gold dragon, I don't remember its name, Rhaenyra's, was a beautiful dragon. And I'm curious, they said there's 10 dragons right now? Or did I mishear that? I really hope we get to see them and how their designs differ. But so far, I like the vibe of it. It was a nice, smooth entry into everything. It had the blood, it had the tits, it had the dragons, had all the things, had the intrigue, the political stuff, and some pretty solid acting so far. So it really just hit all of the notes of what Game of Thrones was known for in this first episode. So I think that was a pretty nice way to structure it and get us re-engaged with this universe. So, and then even more so with them tying in, and I don't know if this was a thing in Fire and Blood, like the book this is based on, if that secret, the king passes it down to the heir story about a Targaryen must always be ready for the threat from the north. So when their empire crumbles and no one's alive to carry on that story's lost, and it just happens to come together in the end with Daenerys tying things back in, because like, she didn't know any of that, but had to figure it out on her own to get into that place, because it does make her the linchpin of that whole plan. It is, though, kind of irrelevant in the end, but I kind of wish they would have just left that out, because that was one of those things that just reminds me of the thing that I really hated the most about Season 8, and that was the way that they concluded the White Walker storyline. But who knows? Maybe they can salvage that. Or maybe, because there's also that Jon Snow spinoff series that is a sequel to Game of Thrones that is going to be coming out that they're working on with Kit Harington. And who knows? Maybe we'll learn that first wave in Season 8 was just a distraction, not the real Night King, or not the real threat in the north. Or maybe there's something else hidden up there waiting and biding its time, and that was just the initial wave. I don't know. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this show. It's just a little track that my mind trailed off into. But I like what I've seen so far. I'm curious what the rest of the season is going to bring. I'm curious how many seasons it's going to take for them to tell this story out, because it's got a beginning, middle, and end already. The book exists. It's finished. And I don't know how long they will need to actually adapt this thing. But I'm curious to see them kind of really dive into it. And I know they keep talking about the fall of Valyria, but I swear I thought originally when this was talked about that they were going to... Was it this or a different spinoff where it was going to be set when Valyria was in its height and prime and not destroyed? I would love to see Valyria itself before the Doom. And I thought that was something we were going to get in this, but I feel, based on the time frame right now, unless we have a flashback, we're not going to see that. And I like seeing Harrenhal in the beginning there. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, man, I thought it was a pretty solid episode. If I got anything wrong, clarify. If it's spoilers from the book itself, don't tell me. I will get to it when it happens in the show. I'll figure it out when it happens in the show. So if I ask any clarifying questions, or if there's anything I got wrong as it pertains to this episode, if those answers come down the line, if I'm not supposed to know yet, don't answer. I'd appreciate it. But guys, what do you think of the episode? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Feel free to join us in our Discord. We can talk about it there as well. Links to that in all my socials description box below. If you want to see the full-length reaction, remember it's on Patreon, or if you become a member of the channel, gets you access also. And before you go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Manny Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Philly Vane, Yori Corey Scott, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Melito, Robert Anguiano, and Raven McGann. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for this episode, guys. I'll see you all next week with the next one. Take care, everybody.